All right, this is another episode of Freestyle Friday. I'm actually recording this on Monday, 6/16/2025, around 7:50 a.m. This is a little bit different message than I've put out there recently on Freestyle Fridays. This one's a little more dear and closer to my heart. My aunt Deb passed away on 6/7/25, and she was more than an aunt to me. She passed away at the age of 74. Deborah was born in Los Angeles, California. She lived most of her life in the Jacksonville, Florida area. She was someone who saved me and protected me as a kid. I could go deep into the obituary here, but I'm not going to do that right now. I want to speak more from the heart about who she was to me and the protection that she put in place for me at a young age. She was the buffer at a young age for me, around the age of 5 or 6 years old, that kept me from going into foster care. She was the reason why my sister and I didn't end up in foster care at that young age and become a part of the system. She stepped up, her and my Uncle Clyde, along with their 2 children at the time. They ended up having 4 kids, but 2 at the time, my cousin Shanna and cousin Friday. And when I look back on it now, I can tell that it was 100% out of love. There was, they didn't have very much. There wasn't anything extra, really. They couldn't afford to bring us into the household, but they did it anyways, because they knew that they were protecting us from what could have been. And took us across country from California all the way to Florida, and took us into their home at a young age. And I spent a lot of time the last few days pondering and thinking about the memories that I had of my aunt at that young age. And one of the things that stood out the most was I remember us being one of the 4 kids in the house, and we had one pillow between us 4. So we would alternate pillows every night. So I would get a pillow one night, and then a few days later I'd get a pillow again. And that's what we had, right? So we had one pillow, we had food on the table. My Uncle Clyde would go work hard every day and come home, and we would eat. It wasn't like we missed meals or anything, but we had this one pillow. And I remember Christmas that year. We're sitting under the tree, and I know a lot of kids wish for all these different things and stuff. And we got pillows for Christmas, and along with some other things, I believe. I don't remember anything else. I mean, I'm sure there was other things, but we got pillows. So all the kids on Christmas night had pillows. So now it's funny because my wife's like, why do you have so many pillows? Where do you use so many pillows? I'm like, I don't know. I guess I resource guard pillows at the age of 52 from the lessons I learned back then. But I think about it now, and who in your life has protected you? Who has stepped up in a time when they really couldn't afford to, or didn't have much extra, but they figured out a way to protect you and help you? And it could be going on right now. It could be something that happened later in life. But when I look back at it, that built a foundation for me as a kid, and an understanding that people loved me and people cared for me. That didn't have to. I mean, she didn't have to do those things. They didn't have to sacrifice and put themselves in a financial pinch to bring my sister and I in to protect us from the system, the foster care system, or whatever that may have been at the time. It was one of my mom's many stints in rehab, but I always remember feeling loved there. I did learn discipline there. We definitely had some discipline back in the day when I was a kid there, but I remember feeling loved, feeling, part of something, part of a family. And my Aunt Deb was always one of those people that believed in me. She always told me, Christopher, you're special. And I believed her, right? I believed her. It was like I believed my grandmother at the time, my Nana, that I was going to be something special in life. And I look back on it now, and in the closing years, I didn't spend as much time with my Aunt Deb as I probably should have. I moved back to Florida in 2016, and I was only a couple hours from her. And I think we saw her a handful of times. Not enough. I didn't see her enough. I had some bad reactions towards the end when I saw her. She reminded me of some of the bad things not that she did, but that my mom did, and they were very similar in their tone of their voice and the way they spoke. So it triggered me a little bit, but I should have looked past that. Um, I love my Aunt Deb very much, and I miss her, and I will continue to miss her. And I'm very grateful that that she was in my life and stepped up. She was one of my biggest fans until the end, always supporting me. And she'd call, leave me a voicemail, how proud she was of my book release, and how proud she was that she sees me on stages, and how proud she was me living my dream. And I mean, she made the trip down to Leo's, to Nikki's baby shower for Leo, and came and saw Leo after he was born. And, you know, she was one of those people that I will always remember, that stood up and stepped up for me when she didn't have to. And I want to be that for other people. I want to do that for other people. And hopefully I've done that in the past, and taking people into my home and giving them and help them when I necessarily didn't have extra to do it, but I need to do more of that, right? I want to be more impactful. And we always talk about living a legacy, and my Aunt Deb's legacy for me is that she was there in the beginning. She was there, a person that stepped up when she didn't have to, stepped up when she maybe couldn't have, and brought me into her home and treated me like her own. And she always did. She always said I was her boy. So I know this isn't the normal Freestyle Friday. There's not a ton of yelling and motivation here, but I think I needed to speak from my heart today and really be clear about what's your one pillow story? What is that one thing that someone's done for you? Sacrificed and given up something to put you in that place. And I could go on and on about the other stories. I remember my aunt would make homemade pickles in these big coolers, and she'd make these bread and butter pickles, and she made a lot of our own food. And I guess, just to save costs. And we lived in this little house in Green Cove Springs, Florida, with the creaky screen door. And it was the houses set up on the center blocks. And we'd go play in the backyard. And I believe that that's where I really learned to be loved as a kid. And I learned that I was the same. I never was treated any differently because of my limb difference. I didn't even know I had one because I grew up with them at such a young age. But as you can tell, this is, again, it's Freestyle Friday. I don't have any notes or any scripting here. This thing's just popped in my head, in my mind. And I remember we would take these trips to the beach. We'd all pile into this orange Volkswagen van that my uncle had, and we'd drive over to St. Augustine Beach. We'd play in the sand and get in the water. And then other times we would go and buy pieces of chicken, raw chicken, and we'd go to the St. Johns River, and we would catch crab. We'd catch a ton of crabs, drop the chicken in, and they grab on, pull up, put in the bucket, and then we'd have a big crab boil for dinner. Those little things you remember, you remember, my aunt, her best friend's name was Arlette, and Arlette her parents had this beautiful house on this lake outside of Green Cove Springs. And they had a lake, this house that was on the dock. I guess you would call that, I don't know what they would call it, but it was like an actual house that sat on the dock, and she would let us go stay there sometimes. And we'd go there and swim and play in the lake. And those are some of the bright spots and memories of my childhood I can remember that just flew back to me as I was speaking here now with you guys today. But the bottom line is that I miss my Aunt Deb. I'm sad she's gone. But I'm incredibly grateful for what she's done for me. And the little things she did in my life definitely made me the man I am today. And I love you, Aunt Deb. I miss you. Until I see you again, take care.